black iris. Wrong. It's dark brown. Okay, there is no such thing as black color iris. It's dark brown. Some of you may have lighter brown. Okay, so this is alleles. Then we also started to look at, actually I already told you, our syllabus, we only focusing on complete dominance. Okay, what do I mean by complete dominance? Okay, complete dominance means there is one dominant allele, there is recessive allele. Okay, so one of the allele can be dominant, one of the allele can be recessive. Okay, so the two alleles are actually, before I talk about complete dominance, maybe in your syllabus, I need to emphasize this again. Usually we are only dealing with one gene having only two alleles. This is a very important assumption that you need to remember. Okay, for your O level, you're very lucky. You only need to deal with this situation whereby one gene only has two alleles. Then these two alleles can either be dominant or recessive. Okay, so what? Yeah, later I will talk about it. Okay, so dominant allele and recessive allele. Then dominant allele is represented by capital letter, recessive allele is represented by small letter. Okay, so this one I have mentioned already. Then because each gene usually only controlled by two alleles, right? Then we get one copy of our chromosome from father, one copy of chromosome, one set of chromosome from father, one set of chromosome from mother. Okay, so there is this possibility, three different possible genotypes. Okay, so we can have three possible genotypes. Okay, based on the one gene only have two alleles assumption. So there is three possible genotypes. If we inherit the dominant allele from father, then I also inherit the dominant allele from mother. Okay, my genotype will be the homozygous dominant genotype. Okay, then heterozygous genotype is when I inherit one dominant allele from either father or mother. Then the other allele I inherit the recessive allele. Okay, then for homozygous recessive, I inherit recessive allele from both the father and mother. So you need to know the meaning of these three words. What is homozygous? Homo means same. Okay, hetero means different. Then recessive. Okay, dominant and recessive. So what do I mean by dominant and recessive? Okay, when do I say an allele is dominant? When do I say an allele is recessive? Okay, very simple. If you have a heterozygous genotype, the dominant allele will express itself. Express itself means that the dominant allele will show in your physical characteristic. Okay, for instance, brown allele is dominant over blue allele. So if a person has a heterozygous genotype, the blue allele will be expressed. That means the person will have blue, not blue allele, sorry, I made a mistake. The brown allele will express itself. So the person will have brown iris. Okay, the blue allele is recessive, so it will not be expressed in the phenotype. Why the iris will change color? Okay, that is not in your syllabus. That can be due to some condition. Heterochromia, unlikely. Okay, unlikely. Okay, in your syllabus, we are only dealing with the common context. What is going to happen commonly? Okay, so those weird special condition, let's not talk about them. Okay, let's not talk about them. Okay, okay, I am thinking whether I should inform. Okay, now let's move on. Okay, now, so we look at Punnett square. Okay, Punnett square will help you determine. Okay, the Punnett square will help you determine what is the genotype of the offspring. Okay, so all this we have went through the last lesson. So today we are going to look at genetic diagram. Okay, we're going to look at genetic diagram. This one I have posted it in the Google Classroom already. Okay, Punnett square is used to determine what is the outcome. Okay, what is the outcome for what is the genotype? What are the possible genotype of the offspring? Okay, if you know what is the genotype of the parent. Okay, so let's look at genetic diagram now. Okay, so let's look at genetic diagram. Let me see that I've shared the correct one. Yes. Okay, the format of the genetic diagram is very important. Please remember it. Okay, so for genetic diagram is also used to determine a possible genotype and possible phenotypes of the offspring. Phenotype and genotype. Okay, so genetic diagram. Okay, so we start with father. Okay, and mother. Now, so the first row, you're asking for it. Okay, let's move on. Now, so first row, father and mother. So we start with the first row, father and mother. Then the second row. Oops. Okay, second row, we will start with the parental. Okay, parental phenotype. Okay, so the second row will be parental phenotype. So we use the color of the iris as an example. So for instance, father is brown eyes, brown iris, and mother is also brown iris. Okay, now then the next row will be parental genotype. Okay, in order for you to write the parental genotype, actually before you draw the genetic diagram, you need to decide what is the alphabet that you will use to represent the alleles. Okay, so it will be good if you can say let capital B represent, okay, before you draw the genetic diagram, let capital B represent brown allele, then small letter b represent blue allele. Okay. Then once you have this, then you can write the parental genotype. So brown iris, so father can be either, if it's brown iris, it can either be capital B, both capital B, or one capital B, one small letter b. Okay, so for this example, maybe we use the heterozygous combination first. So for both father and mother, they are heterozygous. Okay, they are heterozygous. So heterozygous means one dominant allele and one recessive allele. Okay, homozygous dominant means both dominant allele. Okay, now then the third row will be the gametes. So father will produce sperm. Okay, some of the sperm produced by this father will contain the dominant allele, capital B. Some of this sperm produced by the father will contain the recessive allele. So when we draw the gametes, Okay, the letter you must draw them far apart. You must write them far apart, and then you must draw a circle around it. Okay, this is a marking point. This is not by Mr. Ang. This is when I read examiner report. Okay, that is the requirement. That is the expectation. Okay, so when we represent gamete, you must draw a circle around the alphabet, and then the two letters must be quite a distance apart. Okay, there must be a space between them. Okay, if you draw them next to each other, and worse, you never draw the circle, you will get 0. Okay, so when we represent a gamete, we must draw a circle around the allele, and then the allele, we must draw them, there must be a space between them. Okay, so for mother, also the same. So some of the mother, some of the egg will be capital allele, will be the dominant allele, and some of the allele, some of the ovum will be small letter, the recessive allele. Yes, because the mother contains dominant allele and recessive allele. Okay, so when I say some, actually it can be 50% of the egg will be dominant allele, 50% of the egg will be recessive allele. Then 50% of the sperm will be dominant allele, 50% of the sperm will be recessive allele. Okay, because the genotype of the parents is heterozygous. Okay, now, then this part is a bit confusing, but it's also very simple if you pay attention. Okay, so we all know sperm fertilize egg. Okay, so the first type of sperm can fertilize the first type of egg. And when this happens, the offspring will be 2 capital B. Okay, yeah. Then the second possible outcome will be first type of sperm fertilize second type of egg. Then the outcome will be 1 capital B, 1 small letter b. Okay, then the third possibility, the second type of sperm fertilize the first type of egg. Okay, then again I will get 1 capital B, 1 small letter b, a heterozygous genotype. Then the second type of sperm can also fertilize the second type of egg. Then I will get 2 recessive allele. Okay, so remember, egg, sperm fertilize egg. Please don't draw the lines to show sperm fertilize sperm or egg fertilize egg. Okay, so that is why this part here you must draw correctly. Okay, you need to draw correctly. I will check. Okay, in fact, the person marking should check. I don't know about other bio teacher, I will definitely check. Okay, so draw correctly. Okay, draw correctly. Then what is this row? This is the F1 generation genotypes. Okay, F1 generation genotypes. What do I mean by F1 generation? F1 generation, sorry, no, not Pokemon, not Formula One. Okay, so is F1 generation is referring to the first generation after the parents. That means it's like if you start with parents, then this is the offspring. So F1 generation means the first generation after the parent. Okay, obviously if there's F1, there's F2, there's F3, but usually your syllabus is only F1. Okay, maybe for pure bio, we might have F2. Okay, yes, not bigger, it will become longer. Okay, so F1 generation is referring to the offspring. Now, then the next row, we are not done yet. The genetic diagram is there are many rows. So this is still not the last one. Okay, after you talk about genotype, you talk about F1 generation phenotype. Okay. So phenotype is the express physical characteristic. It's the express physical characteristic. So if the offspring is homozygous dominant, okay, the offspring will have brown iris. Okay. Then if the offspring is heterozygous, he will also have brown iris because brown allele is dominant. Okay, so brown allele is dominant. So brown iris. Then the last one is blue iris. Okay. There is another easier way of doing it. You don't need to write brown iris 3 times. You can actually do this. Okay. Then you just write brown iris for this homozygous recessive, homozygous dominant, and heterozygous. Okay. You can choose to use this. Okay. Then you only need to write a brown iris 1 time. Okay. Then we are still not done yet. Still got 2 more rows. Okay. The last 2 rows will be the F1 generation genotypic ratio. Okay. So ratio. So what ratio are we looking at? We are looking at the ratio of the genotypes, the different types of genotypes. So if you look at the F1 generation genotypes, there is 3 possible genotypes. You have the homozygous dominant, the heterozygous, and the homozygous recessive. So the ratio is 1:2:1. Okay, how I get 1? Because out of these 4, one of them is homozygous recessive. And how I get 2? 2 is because there is 2 heterozygous. Okay, then homozygous recessive only 1. So it's 1:2:1. Okay. So what does this mean? This also means that 25%. Okay, 25%. This also means that 25% or 1/4 of the offspring is homozygous dominant. Okay, then 50% or half of the offspring is heterozygous. Okay, then 25% or 1/4 is homozygous recessive. Okay, so this is the meaning. So you can use ratio to represent, you can use percentage, you can use fraction. Okay, however, for ratio, if all of them, if it's 100%, then it's difficult for you to use ratio. You cannot use ratio, not difficult. If it's 100%, then you cannot use ratio. Ratio have to be something with something. A is to B. Okay, and the second, the last row will be F1 generation phenotypic ratio. Now we are looking at the ratio of the phenotypes. Okay, so again, we have 3 brown iris and 1 blue iris. So the ratio is 3:1. Okay, so this is brown iris is to blue iris. So it's 3:1. So again, 3:1 means that 3/4 of the offspring or 75% of the offspring brown iris. Then 1/4 or 25% will be blue eyes, will be blue iris. Yes, this is the chance of every offspring of being brown iris or blue iris. Okay, and this is random. Okay, this is similar to what you learn in your maths probability. Okay, every child that is born to this couple have a 75% chance of being brown iris, 25% chance of being blue iris. Okay, surgery will never be permanent because almost all our cells in our body, they will be slowly replaced. Okay, some of them will die and then they will be replaced by new cells. Okay, unless the surgery is able to change the DNA permanently. Okay, if not, even if you go and do something to your iris, you change it to rainbow color. Okay, after some time, when the cells die and replace with new cells, you should go back to your original. Yes. Okay, it's similar to why is it that when you dye your hair, it doesn't stay purple? If you dye your hair purple, it doesn't stay purple permanently because your hair will grow longer. Then when you grow longer, the new hair that is grown will be the natural color. It will not be the dye color. Okay, something similar to that. Okay, now, so this format for genetic diagram. Okay, tattoo, you need to understand, some cells they may not be able to replace. Okay, when I say, like for instance, our skin cell, okay, our skin cells gets replaced very easily, but certain types of cells in the body, they doesn't get replaced that easily. Okay, tattoo, you know why tattoo is permanent? Because when they, okay, I'm not very sure about the technology. If I'm not wrong, the tattoo is quite deep. Okay, it's quite deep. So doesn't mean you lose a few layers of old cells, then you grow new cells, it will disappear. Okay, you need, in fact, tattoo will become faded with time. Sometimes they need to go and re-tattoo again. If a person tattoo in maybe at a very young age when he or she is older, the tattoo may become fainter. Then he or she needs to go and re-tattoo. Okay, I'm not very sure about the technology lah. Okay, so that is the reason why you don't lose your tattoo. Okay, then yes. Which one? Okay, when it is heterozygous, there is no need to say heterozygous dominant. Yes, capital letter you need to write in front. Okay, the previous lesson we already confirmed that already. If it's heterozygous, it means you have one dominant allele, one recessive allele. It's only homozygous. You need to tell me is homozygous dominant or homozygous recessive. Okay, then so this is the format of the genetic diagram. It's very important. Okay, genetic diagram is quite popular. Okay, in O level, it can come out in the structure. If it comes out in the structure, usually you don't need to draw the whole thing. There will be some guiding words there. But if it comes out in the essay question, you need to be able to draw this genetic diagram. Okay, so this is the format that I want you to follow. There are seven or 8 rows, if I did not remember wrongly. Okay, so this is the format of the genetic diagram. Any other question? No, our lesson at 11:50 today, right? 3 more minutes. Okay, I still want to move on. Okay. Now, next I'm going to talk about mutation. Okay. Mutation. There are 2 types of mutation in your syllabus. Okay, 2 types of mutation. First one is gene mutation. The second one is chromosomal mutation. Okay, chromosomal mutation. Do you have any idea what is mutation? Is it the same as what again? Okay, Dylan, you were trying to say something? No, Anyone have any idea what is mutation? Okay, strange change in the body. Okay, close enough. Okay, it's not a strange change. Actually, mutation is quite common. Okay, no, genes doesn't get destroyed all the time. Okay, so mutation is a change. It's a change in our DNA. Okay, so mutation is a change in our DNA. So when we talk about gene mutation, okay, so first of all, when we talk about mutation, it's a change in the DNA. Okay, it's a change in the DNA. So gene mutation, okay, gene mutation is basically a change in the sequence of the nucleotide. A change in the sequence of nucleotide in a gene. Okay. Then for chromosomal mutation usually there is in your syllabus. Okay, we are only looking at a change in the number of chromosomes. In the number of chromosomes. Yes, so Dylan is correct. Okay, in a normal human cell, we have 23 pairs of chromosomes. 23 pairs is equal to 23 times 2, equal to 46 chromosomes. So we want to have the correct number of chromosomes. Okay, we want the correct number of chromosomes. We don't want more, we don't want less. When it comes to DNA, we want the exact number. We don't want more, we don't want less. Okay, doesn't mean more the merrier all the time. Okay, so I will be elaborating on examples on these two types of mutation using different examples in the next lesson. Okay, so before we end the lesson, any question? Okay, very good comment by Sherlyn. So in fact, for chromosomal mutation, I will be talking about Down syndrome. Down syndrome, okay, Down syndrome, we'll be using this this as an example. Since Sherlyn mentioned about it, let's look at it now. So Down syndrome, but the bell has not rung yet. Okay, Down syndrome is also called trisomy 21. Okay, tri means 3. Somy is referring to the chromosome. Three copies of chromosome 21. Okay, chromosome. Okay, this is the number of the chromosome. Okay, so Down syndrome is also called trisomy 21. Okay, I have to end the lesson already. I will continue with this the next lesson. Okay, okay. So this is the Down syndrome is the only example for that is in your syllabus for chromosomal mutation. Okay, okay. If not, thank you, class.